Good afternoon, and thank you for coming at such short notice. I intend to make a brief statement on behalf of the Board of the Fremantle Football Club and then take some questions. Before I address you, I'll pass over to Steve Rosich, who will provide a brief statement to you. Steve will not be taking any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. I've been working closely with our board over the past few months to firm up our strategic and operational plans for 2020 and beyond to build upon the strong foundations that the club has in place both on and off the field. Given that we cannot agree on some of the key directions for the club, we have reached a mutual agreement for me to step down as Chief Executive Officer. I'm extremely proud of my time at the club. With what we've achieved over the 2008 to 2019 period, and with the strong foundations that the club has in place to be a leading club in the AFL. Of special significance is the on-field achievements over the 2012 to 2015 seasons that included the 2013 AFL Grand Final and the McClellan Trophy for the best performed team in the 2015 home and away season. Commercially, the club is a top-tier club with major sponsors in Woodside and programmed, contracted to 2022, very strong corporate support and over 51,000 members. With our new elite training and admin facility that is the benchmark of the competition, a very strong commercial deal at the acclaimed Optus Stadium, an experienced management team, and a regenerated playing list following a major restructure since 2015, the club is very well placed for the future. I would like to thank our board, management team, staff, players, sponsors, corporate partners and members for their support of the club and of me personally for the past 11 years as CEO. I've loved every moment of it and I believe in this club and our people. After I take a period of leave, I'm looking forward to my next career opportunity and continuing to be a passionate Fremantle Dockers supporter. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dale. Cheers, mate.
Thanks, Steve. Fremantle Football Club is a fantastic club. We have great players, dedicated staff, extraordinary corporate sponsors and business partners, and of course, the very best supporters in the AFL. Football, in fact, any sport at an elite level, is a high-performance business and there's no sugarcoating it. It's clear that for a number of reasons that as a club we haven't performed in recent seasons at a level that meets either our expectations or our supporters' expectations. The board has a duty to act in the best interests of its members and supporters, and to be bold in making strategic decisions. As a result, the Fremantle Football Club board has decided that the club requires a new coach and a new CEO for the season 2020 and beyond. It's important to acknowledge the contribution that both Ross Lyon as senior coach and Steve Rosich, our CEO, have made to the Freo Football Club. Ross Lyon has been with the club for 8 years. In his first 4 seasons, we played finals in each of these, the highlight being the 2013 AFL Grand Final. He instilled great professionalism, drive and commitment into our club. In taking the decisions to seek a new coach, the board also reached the conclusion that additional change was required, and as a result, Steve Rosich will also be leaving the club. Steve has done his utmost for the Fremantle Football Club over 11 years, and he's leaving the club in good shape. The club's breadth and depth of sponsors has never been greater, and the club is in a sound financial position. Steve was instrumental in the completion of this state-of-the-art training facility here at Coburn, a complex and challenging task, as well as the transition from Subiaco Oval to Optus Stadium. In any organisation, a CEO with more than 10 years standing is rare, and the board believes that it's the right time for a new CEO to reset the club's course. The board and I personally have the utmost respect for both Steve and Ross and what they have contributed to our football club. However, despite their individual contributions, Fremantle has not made finals for the past 4 years. This isn't acceptable to the board, the players, and most importantly, our supporters. To succeed in addressing the challenges that lie ahead, we need high performance and consistency both on and off field. So we need to change and we need to evolve. The search for a new coach and CEO starts today. We'll be casting the net as wide as possible over the coming months to find the right people, the best people, the most talented and dedicated people to join our club and set the course for the next 10 years. I do want to be clear, no one has been anointed to take over either of these two roles. Our first priority will be to identify and engage a new senior coach. We've established a senior coach selection panel consisting of myself, GM of Football Peter Bell, and board members Peter Mann and Sue Murphy. We will also appoint an external panel member to provide an independent football perspective. Similarly, we have established a panel to identify our next CEO. In addition to myself, board members Craig Carter and Sue Murphy, and we will also be seeking input from an independent advisor. Our current Chief Operating Officer Graham Parker will act as interim CEO until a permanent CEO is identified. Assistant coach David Hale has agreed to stand in as senior coach for our final game of the season 2019, supported by Fremantle assistant coaches. This is a dynamic and rapidly evolving league, and we must be up for meeting the challenges head on. This is absolutely about transforming our club. We need to act to ensure we are reinvigorated and re-energised for success in the future. Any change is disruptive. However, we need change now to set the foundation for the next 10 years. We will ensure we nurture and respect what we value highly while being driven in the pursuit of sustained on-field success and financial prosperity. And the future for Fremantle is incredibly exciting. We will harness our skills, refocus the club, and take advantage of every opportunity to accelerate our return to success. This is the next phase. Thank you.
Dale, you said Ross Lyon had to go because he didn't make finals this year. Was that the only factor? Are there other reasons that Ross was not the man anymore?
This isn't about one decision. It's not about particular wins and losses. This has been something that we have deliberated over past months, and having arrived at a decision, we're now presenting it today. This is about the future of the club, and I think, as I've highlighted, both Steve and Ross leave a very strong legacy at this club.
You committed to a rebuild though, but you're not going to go through with it with Ross. You committed with Ross. Why was Ross not the right man?
The decision that we have made today in relation to our senior coach comes from us not being in a position to take our senior coach forward post-2020. And we are concerned that if we did not make this decision today, we would be, in a sense, treading water for 12 months. So we've brought that forward and made that decision today.
Why today, not earlier?
Board meeting on Sunday night.
Sorry, over here.
Was it true there was a board meeting on Sunday night where the decision was made?
The decision was made on the weekend, correct?
Why now and not earlier in the season when they lost those 5 out of 6 games? What has anything changed in the last week?
As I've indicated, this is not about individual wins and losses. And it's pretty clear we have had some challenges this season with injury, so we need to take that into account. This is about the future of the club, as I've indicated, for the next 5 or 10 years, and where we see ourselves both on-field and off-field.
Just on that, was there any hesitance from the club about their inability to potentially retain key players? Because we've lost key players previously, and there's talk about some key guys leaving this year. Was that at all a concern?
Clearly, many things have been considered in it, but as I've said, and I'll repeat it again, we were not in a position to extend Ross's contract post-2020. That is a decision that we've made. Having made that decision, what we did not want to do was to go into season 2020 with this being out for public debate and the pressure that comes with that. And that, in fairness to our coach, Ross Lyon, this frees him up to pursue his future, and it also frees our club up with clear direction for the future, and that is what we're doing here.
Dale, Steve Rosich said that he had a difference of opinion to the board, so he thought Ross was the man to go forward. Can we assume that?
I'm not going to go into details, and that's not what I'm here today to present to you. I think in any operation of a club, you're not always going to get situations where the CEO and the board or the president see eye to eye. But Steve and I have had a fantastic working relationship. I've been on the board since the end of 2011. So we have come to a decision, and that decision is what you're hearing today.
But he seems
Sorry, Adrian, I think we had a question over here.
You spoke about transforming the club. So
Yep.
What does that mean? You see the club has issues at the moment, and what do you want the club to become?
Well, what I'm saying to you is we have had tremendous input from Steve Rosich over an 11-year period as our CEO, Ross Lyon for 8 years, and that has transformed this club and provided us a huge platform from which we can now go forward and be an absolute elite club and a powerhouse in the AFL. That is the intention, and that is why we've made the decision.
How did Ross take it, Dale? How did Ross, when you told him?
Clearly, news like this, when it is not expected, is tough. There is no doubt about it. It is a tough day for our club, and I think everyone internally is hurting, and certainly my sympathy goes out to both Steve and to Ross and to their respective families. They have put a huge amount of work and effort into this club. As I've said in my presentation though, that said, we need to do what is best, and as the president of this club and the board of directors, we have to act in the best interests of our supporters, our members and our corporate partners. If we are not striving to be an AFL powerhouse and be elite in this competition on and off field, we are not doing the right thing by our supporters and our stakeholders.
Was the lack of skill development one of your concerns as a board?
There are many things that were in our consideration. There are not single factors, and I'm certainly not going to drift off into a discussion that what has made up the final decision.
Dale, do you want a Freo person as coach?
We are not counting anyone in or out of consideration. I've indicated to you that we're setting up these two panels, one for selection of CEO and one for our senior coach. No one is counted in, no one is counted out, and no one is anointed.
So what makes you sure that Ross wasn't the man post 2020?
I think I've dealt with that. Okay, well, there's obviously a lot of consideration being given to it over a number of months.
So was it more than win-loss? Was it to do with any off-field issues or anything like
No,
that?
look, there's a lot of consideration goes into getting to a final decision like this. I'm not prepared to go into the individual elements of it today.
If you'd made finals this year, would that have changed the decision of the board?
One thing, I was asked about the timing and why now. We're clearly out of finals contention. The view of the board and the directors is that even if we had made final contention, I think the footy experts that are in the room here would know that we did not have the depth to go that far. That's the reality of where we're at. So we had a view that we were arriving at a decision. We are clearly out of finals come Saturday night, and hence we've made the decision and we've acted today. So this is a decision that has been just made and is being communicated as quickly as we can to the public, which we think is important.
Was it ever considered to let Ross coach the final game?
I think that's pretty easy to answer for yourselves. I think once we've made this decision today, clearly emotion is going to rule that, and that really it's not a practical outcome. Sorry.
And Dale, what role did the WA Footy Commission play in all this? Do you have to run it past them, or is there some agreement that you have to reach with them before you do these things?
This is a decision that has been made by the directors and the board of the Fremantle Football Club without any input from the AFL or the WAFC. It is our decision. We wear it, and we wear the upside and the downside of this decision. I think it's bold. I think it's required, and we will need to significantly improve on and off field, and we stand by the decision. It's the right decision.
Very expensive too, wouldn't it? Is it an expensive decision? It's going to cost you
Obviously,
a lot of...
there's a cost involved, and we've taken that into account. We understand the implication of that.
The The reason for the delay was part of that to do with the fact that a lot of money is owed and that it takes a big chunk out of what's available for next season.
Sorry, what delay are you talking about?
The fact it wasn't made earlier in the season.
No, I've just indicated to you there is no delay. We came to a decision on the weekend. I've just indicated that. This hasn't been something that's been sitting on a shelf as a decision made. We made it on the weekend, and this is the first possible opportunity to share it with you and the public, and most importantly, our members and sponsors.
Do you feel like there was a level of fatigue amongst the supporters about the game style?
I think that I covered this earlier, I'm biased, okay? I'm a Fremantle member and supporter first. I think we've got the best supporters in the AFL. They deserve more. Let's leave it at that.
Dale, did anybody interview the players or ask the players about their thoughts on the coaching situation?
No, there's not been direct player input into this, but clearly we have made a decision from our observations and consideration as directors.
In hindsight, do you regret extending Ross's contract for so long back in 2016?
I'm not looking backwards, and I'm not here to be negative in terms of the legacy and work that has been put into this club by both our CEO, Steve Rosich, and our senior coach, Ross Lyon. They have done an incredible amount to raise the bar at this club. This is about the future. This is about setting us up for the next 5 and 10 years on and off field. That's what I'm interested in. I'm not looking backwards.
How do you think the Freo supporters and fans will react to this decision and take it?
It will give them direction. As I say, it is a bold move. It is a bold move for us to act both to renew and refresh our CEO and our senior coach. And I think they will see it in an incredibly positive light and give them a lot of hope. And we need their support. They've got to jump on board and support us. We've made a bold decision, as we should have. We think it's the right one, but we are calling on their support.
Just one more on Steve, if that's all right, Dale. Sure. It's a little bit hard to understand because the club's in profit, got brilliant premises, you know. As a CEO, he's done his job. It's obviously related to the direction of the club in terms of...
Adrian, I think you've hit it on the head. He's done his job. He's done a great job. It is a tough job. You know, the transparency, the focus that comes on AFL is greater than any other elite sport in this country, both from the on-field and the off-field. 11 years, even for a commercial CEO, is a long journey, a long time. So this is about refresh, reinvigoration, and new guidance and input into the direction that this club wants to chart for the next 5 to 10 years.
Culture, could you say culture change even?
Everything needs to improve and evolve at this club for us to clearly be elite on and off field. And that is what we seek, and that's what we're pursuing, and that is what I will leave no stone unturned to achieve for this club.
Will there be any more staff turnover, do you think?
We will be, as I've highlighted, we're appointing a new CEO who will be in charge of the operations of this club. As directors, we've made a decision. Those decisions are about strategic decisions that need to be implemented. As any organisation, any elite sporting organisation, both on and off field, the process of review has to be constant and ongoing. So of course there will be continuing changes and evolution within this club, both the way we play the game, our performance on field, and of course our financial performance off field, and the way we engage with members, the whole bit.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dale.
Thank you very much for attending. Really appreciate your support. Thank you.